Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another awesome episode of Comms Getting Coffee, a BU COMmunicator podcast designed to give you listeners a glimpse into some of the humans at BU's College of Communication, while also spotlighting some amazing coffee shops in and around the city of Boston. This episode's guest is Evan Morrison, a junior in BU's College of Communication, and also a member of Boston University's men's soccer team. In this episode, Evan gives us all a glimpse into what it's like to be a BU College of Communication student from the perspective of a student athlete. I hope you guys all enjoy this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in again and listening to some BU Communicator content. We appreciate you. And without further ado, let's get into this episode. Okay, Evan, why don't you tell everyone where you're from and why you chose BU?
Yeah, so I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, and one of the main reasons I chose BU was to come here to play soccer and then also get a really good degree as well.
And how long have you been playing soccer for?
Probably since I was like 5 or 6 years old.
And is there a reason why you chose soccer as opposed to another sport? Like, was it a family thing or?
Yeah, so I actually played like soccer and basketball growing up. Being from Indiana, like, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Hoosiers, but like basketball is like huge in Indiana. And so I just kind of chose soccer to be like contrary to basketball. Like I ended up choosing it like, I think 6th or 7th grade to like stick with soccer.
Yeah. So you played both until then?
Yeah.
Okay. I was a basketball player myself, and I play through BU, in the BU Women's Club basketball.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's fun, but with COVID, I haven't been able to do that, unfortunately. So I'm jealous that
you're. You guys not have a season?
No, we can't. No, we can't even. So I'm very jealous of you guys that you're able to practice.
Yeah.
Play. So what's your major in comm?
So I'm studying public relations, and then my focus is psych.
Is there a specific reason why public relations? Like, do you know what you want to do with that degree after?
I'm not 100% sure really what I want to do. But it's just something that I was like interested in, and then I seem to be doing like okay at it in school, so yeah. I figured it was going well.
And what's your favorite comm class you've ever taken? It's a tough
one. My favorite one so far is probably CM313 with Dr. Krishna. It's like corporate communications.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm a media science major, so I haven't really taken a whole bunch of PR classes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you might not have had that one. Yeah. Just
to do a little shameless comm plug and take a brief pause for a moment to talk about CM313, which is the class Evan just mentioned. It's called Corporate Communication and explores the trends and issues affecting corporations, crisis management, public affairs communication, consumer affairs, employee relations, environmental problems, and issues of multinationals. And it also uses case studies throughout the course. Sounds pretty interesting. I'm kind of bummed I'm not a PR major and don't really have the opportunity to take it. But for you PR majors out there, if that's something that interests you, it sounds super awesome. So take a look into it. Can you give us a day in the life of a student athlete at BU and like wake up to going to bed?
Yeah, sure. I'll do my best. So like on a day where we have practice, it'll usually be at 9 a.m. So we'll wake up at like 7:15, 7:30, have breakfast, and then head over to the locker room and field. And we normally have to be there at 8:15 to be in the locker room, but this year we're not allowed to use the locker room because of COVID.
Right.
But it would normally be like an 8:15 locker room, and then you go to the training room, get treatment for whatever you need to get treatment on. And then you're out on the field at like 8:45 before 9 a.m. practice. And then that'll go from like 9 to 11. You'll go back to the locker room, shower up, and then go to class usually from like 11 to 4. And then usually homework, dinner, and then more homework.
So do you ever have time for yourself to like do like?
Yeah. So like, that's one of the best parts about being in comm for me, at least, is that like we have those like big 3-hour classes. So my schedule is a little bit lighter than some of my teammates in different schools.
Right.
Because we have like those 3-hour block periods sometimes. So like some of my days are a lot lighter than others. So like on those days, I try to make sure that like I get outside and like just relax for a little bit. or like go get food from somewhere or something like that. But yeah, for the most part, it's like just like a lot of homework, making sure you don't fall behind.
Exactly. On the topic of food, do you have any favorite restaurants in Boston or on campus?
Yeah, so my favorite spot is Los Amigos. It's like a 3-minute walk from our apartment off campus in Brookline.
Okay.
It's like on the almost at Coolidge Corner, like just right in front of Trader Joe's.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that, but I've never been there.
It's so good. You got to try it.
Okay. Noted. I'm a big foodie, so
Yeah.
foodie and coffee person. So I spend a lot of time going to different places. So when you do have free time, what do you like to do in your free time?
I like to go thrifting is one of my favorite things to do. And then also like going to Newberry, just like spending time down there. And then other than that, I mean, the problem is that most of my friends are on the team. So like I already spend so much time with them, but yeah, like I try to like spend time with like just like my friends in my free time.
Right.
But that's a little bit more difficult now, like especially since we're in season.
Okay.
We can basically only hang out with the guys that are on our team, like due to not wanting to risk getting COVID.
Right. And so when does your season start and end?
So we were supposed to start on March 6th.
Okay.
And then our conference tournament ends on April 17th, I think. So it's like a month and a half long, but they kind of divided it up. It's like a weird shortened season this year. They separated the Patriot League into like 2 divisions, like a North and South.
Okay.
So there are 5 teams in each, and we're in the North Division. So like we have, I think, 4 games to like try to get into the conference tournament, basically.
Right. That's a pretty short season, especially having to practice. You practice every day?
Yeah.
It's a big commitment for such a short season. Wow. I give you credit. So we're just going to take a brief little pause here to give a little retweet to all of our student athletes here at Boston University. I personally can't imagine how you guys balance it all and still survive. I'm sure that some espresso and coffee really gets you going and keeps you afloat, which is the perfect segue for our coffee spotlight of today's episode. The coffee shop featured on today's podcast is 1369 Coffee House or 1369 Coffee House, however you want to pronounce it. It is located in Cambridge at 757 Mass Ave. I admit it's a bit of a hike. I'm someone who walks there when I go, so it's quite a walk. But now that spring's coming and our weather is getting better, if you want to get outside a little bit or just take a break from your studies, I encourage you to head over to Cambridge. It's a beautiful walk, especially on Harvard Bridge, and it's also a delicious cup of coffee. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I think it's a hidden gem, and I hope you go out and try it. So going back to the thrifting thing, because I thought that was super interesting, where are good places you like to thrift in Boston?
There are a couple of good spots over in Cambridge, and then the one that's like close by to like our apartment is Buffalo Exchange.
Okay, yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, and so that one I go to like more frequently just because it's so close by.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a few good spots in Cambridge, and then there are a few like really good spots in Newberry. But that one's not really thrifting in Newberry. That one's more just like regular.
Just like
walking. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any favorite places that you like to work on campus or in Boston, especially now that the weather's getting better? Like, where are places you like to go and work?
Yeah, so we're actually super lucky here that we have a roof on our apartment.
Oh, that's
so like now that the weather is getting nice, we go up onto our roof a lot and like have like some chairs set up there.
Okay.
But if I was gonna go like do work like on campus, probably Mugar,
Right.
just because it's just a classic spot, and it's so quiet usually. And then Pavement sometimes, like if I was gonna go do some work with a friend or something, Pavement is usually good.
Yeah, I used to love going to Pavement, but now with COVID, can't do that.
Yeah.
So are you a coffee drinker then, since this
Okay.
Yeah,
I drink coffee every morning.
So what's the go-to drink? What's your order?
Well, we have like an espresso machine here at the apartment.
Okay.
So me and one of my roommates, Nate, it's his espresso machine. So we just make espresso every morning.
You just do chocolate espresso?
No, we put a little bit of milk. We like make like little iced lattes sometimes.
Okay, that's what I do.
He bought a milk frother
cool.
over winter break, so we get fancy with it sometimes.
Are you someone who'll have like an iced coffee all year round or drink?
Yeah, always.
Okay, that's what I do too. And everyone's like, how do you have this during the winter, especially on freezing days? I'm like, I
don't know.
so
I just
much
think it
better
tastes
with
better.
ice. Yeah,
I
exactly.
just think it tastes better. There's something about it.
I'm a huge coffee person. So other than Pavement, do you have any places in Boston you like to go to get coffee?
Blue Bottle is good, and then that one's kind of a little bit more like if you want to spend more money. I go to like Nero a lot, and Blue Bottle, or not Blue Bottle, Blue State. Yeah, mostly just stuff on campus, just because it's a little bit more convenient.
Right.
But yeah, if you have any more good recs, I would definitely.
I have so many. I can send you a list. I have so many. Every day I like go and on a walk for coffee, but I think my favorite, I really like Farmer Horse Coffee.
Okay.
It's in the South End and it's near Northeastern. It's not a far walk. They have really good coffee and really good food. I mentioned it on like my first episode of this podcast, so that's a really good place to go. Okay, so I know you mentioned that you don't know what you want to do yet, and that's totally okay because most people don't know what they want to do. But, you know, in the dream world, what would your dream job be?
Oh, dream job, I would be playing professionally.
Do you want to try and continue playing after you graduate?
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, a lot of stuff has to happen for that to work out, though.
Right. So what would that entail?
So that would be, there's like an MLS draft. So like Major League Soccer has a draft in February. And so it's usually like 3 rounds, so like 90 picks. So like if you're, I don't know, it's just sort of like how you perform during the season. Mm-hmm. If you're like a junior or senior, you can get picked up in the MLS draft. Right. And like there's like a combine and all that. It's like the same as like the NFL combine or NBA combine or any of those things. Like they have one of those. And it's just sort of based on like how you perform during your season stuff.
So Evan, do you have any soccer icons or role models you look up to?
Yeah, tons. But I used to play on like a team that was pretty good. And like a lot of those guys are over in Europe now, like playing professionally. Mm-hmm. So like it's mostly just like looking at those guys and seeing what they're doing and being like, you know, like I used to play with them and now they're over there playing professionally, like at the highest level. So it's sort of like more looking at those guys and being like, wow, like they're really just like perfect for looking at and saying like, oh, I could do that. Yeah,
it's definitely a good motivational thing to have in your life, to see people you know who have kind of made it or, you know, had that dream happen. Yeah. And how did COVID, when it initially started, how did that impact the team and your practices? Like, what did that look like for you guys?
Yeah, so we all got back from like spring break last year and like went home. And then we had like weekly team Zoom calls with our coaching staff and just like all the guys on the team just to like sort of catch up every week and make sure that we're keeping up with like whatever workouts they were sending us. Right. And we really had no idea how long it was going to go on for. And it ended up going until, you know, throughout the whole summer until we came back to campus. Yeah. But yeah, it didn't really change. I mean, obviously, like other than not being able to like work out with the guys on the team, like everybody was still doing individual workouts and like training by themselves back at their homes. So it didn't change too much in terms of like actual workload, but in terms of like building like team chemistry and getting to see everybody every day, it was definitely a challenge.
Other than soccer and obviously classes, is there anything else you're involved in at BU if you have time?
Yeah, I'm in SAC, like the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. Okay. And then the Bloom Family Leadership Academy, which is like for student athletes to learn like leadership skills. So I'm like a representative for men's soccer for that. Oh, but that's basically it. It's almost all through athletics.
Yeah. Well, that's your life and that's what you're passionate about. So it makes sense. Yeah. So Evan, that's it for all my questions today. Is there anything else you'd like to say to our listeners to sign off?
If there are fans allowed next fall, please come out.
Yeah, come out to the soccer games. Sounds good. So that concludes this episode of Comms Getting Coffee. Thank you everyone again for tuning in and listening to this episode. And thank you again to Evan for agreeing to get interviewed and give us all a really interesting student athlete perspective of what it's like being a comm student with, as we heard, such a hectic and crazy schedule. If you have a free day this week and it's weather permitting, I highly recommend that you try the coffee shop that is spotlighted in this episode. Stay tuned for our next episode of Comms Getting Coffee, and of course, our next feature on an amazing coffee shop in Boston. Until then, guys, thank you again for listening.